Good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me okay? Yes. This project came about as a result of a perceived problem with some of our students and learners in general, just not understanding or having difficulty with kind of construction terms, and especially some that might be fairly specific to this New Zealand locale. And as someone who has moved here myself, you know, and having to find out about the construction, I could empathise a little bit about them finding out how New Zealand builds things and the particular names and terms that they tend to communicate with. Also, it kind of flagged up things that people from countries where they may be having English as an additional language, there could be additional challenges for them as well. And then we want to try and make something that was more attractive and engaging, and that would kind of persuade the students to try and work with us to achieve the outcomes. So the aims really were to try and bridge learning gaps by using the model and trying to get them to become familiar with the terminology. We want them to be able to identify, and not just identify, but also to see what the purpose of elements were. We didn't want them to just say, well, this is a post, because we've had students in the past mixing up piles with fence posts, and we thought, well, look, we can use this model to try and help them identify the separate elements, but also to tell them what's the purpose, and is it transferring or sustaining loads, and what other parts of the system does it rely on. We wanted to be able to help them to see the elements, their physical characteristics, and probably more importantly relate to this New Zealand Standard 3604, which is really the kind of Bible for timber frame residential design in this country. It's quite a weighty document. It's not really Harry Potter. It's about 500 pages, and it's kind of, you know, it takes a little while to get familiar with how to use it. Whilst there's lots of definitions, they can be quite challenging at the start. We also want to let the students be able to see the elements individually and in the context of the whole frame, so that they can actually augment their learning. So one of the first things was this model approach, and really it's about lost in translation, because I mean, I'm from a country with a dialect, and people sometimes mix up what I'm saying in lectures, and then if you're not familiar with terms, and these are some examples from 3604, and if you look at them in isolation, you know, they can be, especially this one, dwelling. I mean, I've been in architecture for 25, 30 years before I came here. I haven't come across this term. I know what it is now, but some students new to the industry would probably find that this, you know, and what does it mean? And sometimes these definitions in isolation they're not that helpful. So one of the challenges, I mean, another one was this thing called dragon tie, and this is a particular thing I've never heard of. You know, what is it? You know, it could be this, but it's not really that. You know, I mean, it's one of the more interesting ones that I always refer back to. And according to 3604, you know, it tells you what the member is and what it's meant to do. And, you know, if you're a student, especially level 5 student, does that mean a lot to you, especially at the formative stages? So the model is hopefully going to help them see, well, what system is it part of? Is it in the roof? Is it in the subfloor? Is it the wall? And then we can start to maybe make them more curious. And so basically there's substantial work at the start preparing this model. So a colleague of mine, we engaged in it together, and he did quite a lot of the heavy lifting at the start. Putting the timber frame elements in. I did some more work putting bracing elements in, like straps and these purple things. But then what I had to do was really take it apart and label everything to match the terms in this document, so that the students would be able to continuity, consistency, and try and avoid the confusion. So there's something like 68 different elements, and it was hard to isolate those and then name them and then embed in them the information that we thought the students would find useful. So that was part of the first stages of the project, embedding the names. In terms of support resources and the construction course that the students were studying, you know, they learned different systems. So I gave them, we use Celibri, but Tech BIM sites and other free model viewers will show the model. I know Celibri definitely lets the definitions we embedded jump out. So we used that one, and I gave them a little quick start guide based on what you get on a mobile phone, and I also give them a demo on YouTube, and then we give them the actual model, and then I went to class and tried to show them a little demo to do it live, to hopefully get them a bit more interested, engaging with it. did a literature review. There wasn't that many papers that directly aligned, but it's got some useful information. But when they open the model, and it works on a PC or a Macintosh, basically there's all the layers, and they can select in the model, and just by using the software they can highlight an element, and when they click on it in the description, the definition from 3604 jumps out, and that's probably, I think, a bit more useful than seeing it in a 400-page book, and you're trying to think, well, where is that? You have to go back to drawings, and a lot of students, even in their diplomas and the degrees, still struggle with 2D drawings anyway, and that's a message I'm getting from a lot of my colleagues. So we're finding that models are a very powerful medium to try and help them bridge those learning gaps. So this is what all the work involved was, getting this thing to kind of come out in a user-friendly way. So even things like fairly tricky concepts for beginners, like diaphragms, they can go in and just highlight the relevant term here, and it'll appear by itself. And if they hover over this little description here, it jumps out and tells them, and they say, oh, that's what it looks like. And right away, you hope some basic learning has taken place. They can, highlight the systems and all the elements related to a system to see how they interact with each other, how they support each other, how they transfer loads. And we use some quizzes on Moodle to try and get the guys to say, well, look, first of all, here's a selection of elements. We've been teaching about subfloor. You choose which of these can contribute to the subfloor. And as a result of that, they could highlight the elements maybe for a roof frame, and the whole model itself can be hidden, apart from the system under study. And they can pick up things like bracing. These are the famous dragon ties, by the way. So that's what they look like. And I would hope that the students seeing them like this would know that they're in a roof system. You can also highlight the elements and then turn on the rest of the model in a kind of faint, transparent view, which again helps them to see the overall context of that particular element. And I think again, the results we got back from the surveys I did would suggest that the students found this really a powerful tool and a medium towards helping them grasp the threshold concepts of the topic content that we wanted to try and understand. It was really a survey and a case study across two different cohorts of this course, one in late 2017, one early 2018, and then a kind of informal chat with the staff on the course. The tutor didn't really buy into it the first time we did it. I guess this is down to a common problem which the literature mentioned and which I'm familiar with from personal experience, that tutors struggle to fit in all the content from a syllabus or a course description, and they don't really want to try and cram in any especially new things. And software can downright scare some of them as well. And you actually break down that little kind of iron curtain or whatever you want to call it. I have a few people, it's really tricky, but we're pushing that way, and my college is very much engaged in BIM and trying to use it embedded in our courses. So that's basically where all the information came from. The questions were grouped into things about how easy it was to get at the resources needed in the model itself, and how easy it was to navigate it. And we're going to try and use this to maybe see where the resources I did, such as the video and the demonstration, useful. And you can see that in the main, most people found it fairly simple. And I guess maybe it's the Nintendo generation or gaming generation, computers, they just like it. How much would you agree with this statement, about we try to gauge how positively it impacted on their learning? And identifying the members, you can see here, 2017, still strongly much more to this side, but over here, it's getting slightly better. The sample size this year was not great. It was only about 14 people. In fact, it was 14. But this time we got a much better sample size of, I think, 42. And the tutor this time really did buy into it. It was like an awakening from him. He said, I wish I'd done this years ago, which was quite refreshing for me to find out that once he saw it going, he said, yeah, I want to use it. And he actually wants to try and use it in other courses as well. So the students really did seem to think that it helped them understand definitions. It helped them identify physical form and shape. How they relate to each other in terms of loads, how they sustain each other, connections. Again, most of it was on the side of the chart that we would like it to be. They enjoyed using it as well, so basically engagement was quite a big objective of this project, and again, mostly they agree with the statement. They like the way it allowed them to see them individually and with others. Help me learn and understand more. Yeah, again, agree absolutely. And you'll see that some of the results of assignments improved as well. So that those charts were generated from tables which came from the surveys. Another thing was this: English is an additional language. As I say, it's not phrase book terminology we're talking about here. It's fairly technical. So I really wanted to know if this helped people. So we asked people in the survey, which was anonymous, by the way, did this model help them understand things? And the consensus seemed to be yes, so it was proved to be very useful. You know, they can visit virtual sites. So in a way, we have little timber frame houses on our Unitech site, but because of all the things like health and safety and insurance, it's really very difficult to locate that and get them out onto sites around Auckland with fairly large numbers, 80, 90. It's not easy. So this virtual digital twin, to grab a term that was used earlier on, they can locate it in our virtual learning environment. They can get at it from home. I don't think you can use it in iPads yet at the moment, although there are BIM viewers like BIM EU, which you can look at models in a browser. You have to pay, I think, after the trial period, and it does get a bit limited by the memory of the browser, so we would probably recommend they use the software. In the paper you'll see that, you know, course pass rate not significantly go up, but this test, which was particularly on the standard relating to timber frame, we got a quite significant success rate on that, although the average itself wasn't a big improvement. But, you know, based on even just the general informal feedback that we got, it would support what the paper says, that they do like it. Maybe in the future we can get it made available on mobile devices, not just through a browser. This is Tekla BIM site, which is it depends on that software what way you can get at the information that's embedded, and I must admit I've only investigated this a little bit. When the software gets updated, people tend to change things, and you have to go and find out where they've hidden stuff. Solibri is kept reasonably consistent, and that's why what we found that we've kind of used that one primarily. Conclusion that they do like it. Our students realise what's out there, and as I say, we've had a big push about BIM across even our diploma students, and I've got colleagues who are very, very passionate about it, who have managed to convince their line managers of that. And the students, thankfully, do seem to enjoy working with it as well. And they enjoy engaging with digital models. The paper would prove that it can help us achieve and improve learning outcomes based on the test results. The people who maybe are coming from countries with English as an additional language find that it was an easier way for them to become familiar with the specific terminology. And this is quite a significant one. I found with tutor the first year was just kind of paying me lip service, but then eventually he did, and he'd seen that software was quite simple to get to use, and he was a very competent user of model authoring software like Archicad, and he used Revit. So Solibri, especially for just viewing, navigation, is very simple. So he uses that a lot now, and I know they're using it this semester also. So that's basically it. So if you have any questions, I'll try and answer them.
Okay. Well, thank you very much.